Good morning, this is Greenfield Pharmacy. How can I assist you?
Hi, I'm calling to check some details before I start my new job there. I was given a few notes, but I just want to confirm them.
Of course. Our manager, John Field, is available if you need further clarification.
Great. I also need to save the pharmacy's contact number. Can you tell me?
Certainly. It's 049-157-0159.
Got it. Now, regarding my shifts, I was told that I start quite early in the morning.
Yes, most of our employees begin their shifts before the store opens. Your shift starts at 7:45 a.m. That way, you'll have time to prepare for the first customers.
All right. I also heard there's one late-night opening each week.
That's correct. The store stays open late on Friday evenings. It's usually our busiest night, so we need all hands on deck.
Good to know. And my official start date?
You'll be starting from the 22nd of January, so be sure to arrive a little early on your first day to complete any remaining paperwork.
Thanks. Also, I remember something about uniforms. Should I bring my own?
No, that won't be necessary. We provide staff with a uniform, and Barbara will assist you in getting the right size.
All right. And I believe John is going to email me about another matter.
Yes, he'll send you some details about parking, including where you can leave your vehicle and the spaces allocated for staff members.
Perfect. Now, about the facilities. I recall there's a machine available for customers to use, right?
Yes, we have a weight machine near the entrance. Customers often use it to check their body weight. Just ensure that it's functioning properly at all times.
Will do. If a customer needs medical assistance, who should they speak to?
We always have a nurse on duty so they can approach the counter and ask for help if necessary.
Got it. And I should be careful when lifting heavy stock, right?
Absolutely. We store some large boxes at the back, and if they aren't lifted correctly, you might injure your back. So, make sure to bend your knees and avoid straining yourself.
That makes sense. Oh, one last thing. I heard that the store has introduced new bags. What do they look like?
Yes, we've recently switched to a more eco-friendly option. They now come in purple, so they're easy to spot.
That's helpful. Thanks for all the information.
You'll hear the warden of a nature trail talking to a group of people who are interested in hiking on the trail. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning. I'm Susan Meyer, trail warden for the McFadden Hiking and Nature Trail. Let me tell you a bit about the trail. The trail is 25 miles long, running roughly east to west. To hike it, you may start at either end of the trail or in between. You can hike the whole length of the trail, or just a couple of miles, because there are 20 entry points along the trail, each connected to public roads by short paths. For hikers coming from Johnson City, there's a shuttle bus to each of the 2 endpoints every morning and evening. And 4 of the entry points have a free car park with television camera surveillance. At 1-mile intervals along the trail, there are rest stations providing picnic areas, water, toilets, and places where you can recharge your electronic devices. In response to a poll of walkers last year, We've recently installed kiosks at each rest station with clear, easy-to-follow maps and other trail information. There are several distinct sections of trail. The Red Rock Walk offers a superb opportunity to study a huge variety of vegetation along the way. There's lots to look at, though you can't see great distances. Birds are actually hard to spot. But with a pair of binoculars and at certain times of day, you may see some rare varieties. The Riverwalk comprises about 5 miles of trail winding along the bank of the Mulder River. Personally, I prefer this section of the trail in winter. The river does freeze over, and the snow can accumulate, but that doesn't always discourage visitors. Sometimes, though, if the weather conditions are really unsuitable, we might have to close this walk to the public. But often it can get crowded with hikers who've discovered the attraction of the area.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Now let me tell you about the Halfway Hostel, located approximately midway along the trail. It has a range of facilities available to help make your walking experience memorable. Let me give you some information about the various facilities available there. Of course, there are beds in dormitories for use at a very reasonable $7 per person, weekdays or weekends. Unfortunately, we found that pre-booking beds just didn't work, so now we allocate them as people arrive, but we have extra cots and sleeping bags to help with any overflow. There are 2 family rooms accommodating 6 people each, with private bathrooms. They're $35 per room, and for them you will need to make arrangements ahead of time as they're very popular, especially at the weekends. A popular facility that we've recently added is coin-operated washing machines for your clothes. You can get awfully wet and dirty if you're walking the trail in bad weather, and since we got these machines, you can put on clean gear when you set out in the morning. The hostel serves 2 meals a day, breakfast at $4 and dinner at $8. The same for adults and kids. There's always a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian option, depending on your preferences. We do ask you to give a hand with serving and cleaning up after meals. We have plenty of showers and unlimited hot water available, so you can have this luxury at no charge, and you can enjoy it as long as you like. Now, some people like to spend time on the trail on mountain bikes and maybe take a bit of a rest from all that walking, and that's permitted as long as you observe basic safety rules. The hostel's in the process of creating a bike rental scheme, which should be up and running next year. So, if you think that...
That is the end of Part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3. You will hear 2 business students called Janet and Michael discussing their research into the marketing of different kinds of shampoo. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Janet. How are you getting on with the shampoo marketing project?
Hi, Michael. It's interesting. I've read how shampoo marketing has developed over the last 100 years.
Oh, I didn't think we needed to do that.
True, but I'm interested anyway. Basically, what was once sold as an economical way of getting your hair clean has evolved into a beauty product.
Right.
And shampoo's interesting because it's a key influence in how we see ourselves. You've heard of bad hair days.
When your hair looks bad, maybe you didn't wash it and you feel bad about it. Heard of them, yes. Had one? No. Don't think they're real. Bad hair days? Come on.
Well, whatever you want to call them, that's not what research from Yale is suggesting. They're not just imagined, and both sexes are equally affected by them. And when they happen, people tend to perform and feel worse than usual.
Right. And I've been reading about shampoo ingredients, chemicals like sodium lauryl sulfate,
Methyl chloride. Many of the manufacturers tend to use these or others like them, though they keep it quiet.
Right. When it comes to the product packaging, they're strangely silent about it.
Another area it would be interesting to investigate is the labeling on bottles. Apparently, printing directly onto the bottles costs about 50% less than sticking a printed label on because it's a much quicker process. But manufacturers are lukewarm about this because it doesn't enhance the visual impact of the bottle. It comes across as a bit cheap.
We need to think about environmental issues. I was surprised how little recycled plastic goes into the bottles.
I think it's because light-colored plastic is more difficult to make from recycled stuff.
Yeah, but manufacturers can make their packaging more environmentally friendly just by making it less heavy. I'd like to find out whether some of them actually do when we do the research.
Yes, that's worth looking into. Thinking about you as a customer, what's important when choosing shampoo?
I'm always wary of special offers. When something's flagged as being half price, it rarely is, really. But if there's a make I've never seen before, I'm usually up for giving it a go, rather than sticking to one or two favorite brands all my life.
Interesting.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Shall we discuss some of these shampoo advertisements then? And try and identify what sort of psychological response each one is trying to get from the viewer?
Okay. What about Zing?
Well, it'd probably appeal equally to men and women. In the ad, we see this happy family, lovely home, healthy, good-looking children.
With clean hair.
Obviously, yes. And I think we're supposed to watch the ad and think, Wow, if only my life was like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think the advertisers want the viewers to almost wish they were the people in the ad.
Sure. I mean, that's very common in advertising.
But not universal. You know that ad for Splash shampoo that lasts about 5 minutes and where there's a story?
Oh, yes. The commercial about the couple? And all through the commercial, it's not clear if they're going to break up or stay together?
Exactly. Well, I think the marketing's been done very cleverly there. I don't think we're supposed to want to be the characters in the commercial, but we're supposed to get to know them a bit.
Yes, well, I thought the story was effective. You're glad to learn when it's over that they're obviously going to stay together. But I think the role of the shampoo in the story was a bit thin, to say the least.
Maybe. I suppose some manufacturers don't want to bore people with all the science.
Sure.
And then there's the Just Go advertisement.
Yes, that had lots of technical information about what the shampoo actually consists of. I suppose they want customers to feel confident that when they buy Just Go, they are at least making an informed decision.
Yes, they're buying something that will do the job they want it to.
That's it.
I've read one of the most effective shampoo ads in recent times was the one for Brozine.
Yes, but there's no commentary, just images of the shampoo and lots of clean hair. I suppose the effect, though, is very calming, with soft music and very peaceful imagery.
Yes, but at the end of the ad, we've hardly learned anything about the product, have we?
I suppose not. But isn't it interesting how much the ads for what are essentially very similar products vary so much?
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3.
Today, we continue our series on ecology and conservation with a look at a particularly endangered member of the black bear family. 1 in 10 black bears is actually born with a white coat, which is the result of a special gene that surfaces in a few. Local people have named it the spirit bear, and according to the legends of these communities, its snowy fur brings with it a special power. Because of this, it has always been highly regarded by them, so much that they do not speak of seeing it to anyone else. It is their way of protecting it when strangers visit the area. The white bear's habitat is quite interesting. The bear's strong relationship with the old-growth rainforest is a complex one. The white bear relies on the huge, centuries-old trees in the forest in many ways. For example, the old-growth trees have extremely long roots that help prevent erosion of the soil along the banks of the many fish streams. Keeping these banks intact is important because these streams are home to salmon, which are the bear's main food source. In return, the bear's feeding habits nurture the forest. As the bears eat the salmon, they discard the skin and bones in great amounts on the forest floor, which provide vital nutrients. These produce lush vegetation that sustains thousands of other types of life forms, from birds to insects and more. Today, the spirit bear lives off the coast of the province of British Columbia on a few islands. There is great concern for their survival, since it is estimated that less than 200 of these white bears remain. The best way to protect them is to make every effort to preserve the delicate balance of their forest environment. In other words, their ecosystem.
The greatest threat to the bear's existence is the loss of its habitat. Over many years, logging companies have stripped the land by cutting down a large number of trees. In addition, they have built roads which have fractured the areas where the bear usually feeds, and many hibernation sites have also been lost. The logging of the trees along the streams has damaged the places where the bears fish. To make matters worse, the number of salmon in those streams is declining because there is no legal limit on fishing at the moment. All these influences have a negative impact on the spirit bear's very existence, which is made all the more fragile by the fact that reproduction among these bears has always been disappointingly low. And so, what's the situation going forward? Community organizations, environmental groups, and the British Columbia government are now working together on the problem. The government is now requiring logging companies to adopt a better logging method, which is a positive step. However, these measures alone may not be sufficient to ensure a healthy population of the spirit bear in the future. Other steps also need to be taken. While it is important to maintain the spirit bear's habitat, there also needs to be more emphasis on its expansion. The move is justified as it will also create space for other bears that are losing their homes to